You and Tara want to get married. But you only just moved in with her.
True, but she lived with Mother before Mother died, and before that she lived with you, Lucy and Carrie. Mother spoke highly of her. What was she like when she was with you?
She was very sweet, once we got used to her. She actually reminded me of Heather, the Satanist you dated as a teen.
You remember Heather? Yes, Tara made me think of her too. But Tara is a pagan, which is different from a Satanist. Oh, let me send you a pic of Tara now.
I like her new look. Oh, did I tell you that Carrie is engaged to Debbie now? They actually wanted to get married this year, but I and Debbie's mother Sandy talked them out of it.
I don't think I've ever seen Debbie. Do you have a pic of her?
Sure. Sending it now.
How long have those two known each other?
Almost 3 years. They were best friends before they became lovers, and they have been through a lot together. Carrie's grandmother Leslie even got them promise rings. They seem as tight with each other as Lucy and I are.
So why not just let them get married? You and Lucy got married after only a year of knowing each other, and you've been a couple for 18 years. Far longer than even I thought you'd last.
Oh, not you two. I don't want to start another argument with the girls or Sandy.
Suit yourself. But sometimes you just know something will work out and delaying it is pointless.
So now you think our daughters should get married soon? I think we should be at least open to the idea. I was concerned about the girls dropping out of high school. If they agree to stay and graduate, why should it matter if they are married or not, in that case? 2 more years of waiting won't make much of a difference. If there were signs of the girls not being right for each other, we would have seen them by now. Do you know of any? I do have one concern. Carrie's violent tendencies. Remember when we were in Boston and she beat up on your ex, Barbara, and was jailed for that? I've also heard from Debbie that Carrie has picked fights with other people. What if something goes horribly wrong and she hurts Debbie? The last thing I ever want is for my daughter to become a battered wife. Maybe that is something we both should make clear to Carrie. You have my word that if Carrie ever abuses Debbie, I would disown Carrie. But Carrie only attacks people who are highly offensive to her. And Debbie is the least offensive girl I know. I overheard the tail end of that discussion, Mother. May I say something about it? Of course, Debbie. I have witnessed Carrie's acts of violence, and in every case, either she was struck first or she was provoked because of someone else. Barbara insulted Lucy Sims. Ted Wilson was assaulting girls. And Laura was trying to shut Carrie up about atheism. Carrie has never threatened me, never laid a hand on me at all except in a loving way after I consented to it. Mrs. Sims, Carrie is the bravest girl I know, and it is exactly because Carrie is so strong and willing to fight for what she believes in that I feel safe around her, because she believes in me, and therefore she will stand up for me if I am ever hurt by anyone else. If I ever thought she was a possible threat to me, I wouldn't be with her at all. The one time I thought she might hurt me is when I was dating Laura. And even then, she gave me and Laura space. She never hurt either of us and was willing to let me go. Abusers don't do that. Indeed, abusers are cowards, and Carrie is the opposite of that. Sandy, are you still opposed to them getting married this year? All right, I will agree to it. I just wanted Debbie to be safe. But we then can't have the kind of lavish wedding I always wanted her to have someday. That has never concerned me. Even if we have nothing fancy at all, I will be happy with Carrie as my bride. And I think Carrie would feel the same way. So let's set a wedding date. Our mothers changed their minds. I never thought that would happen. Nor did I, and I was perfectly willing to wait until we were 18, but now we can get married when we are 16. Our birthdays are both in June, remember? Right. So we can get married on the last day of that month. June 30th will be the first day of the rest of our lives. So be it. Thank you, Mother. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders, and I now have something to look forward to this year. I trust you, Debbie, and therefore I can trust Carrie too. Do you think maybe we should change our looks again before the wedding? If you want to change yourself, that's up to you, but I think you are beautiful just as you are now. I would never insist you change. Changing myself didn't make me a better person. I understand. I really want to do this for me, not anyone else. So, Debbie, this was a perfect idea. Matching dresses, each in our favorite colors. Even if we have nothing else that day, this wedding of ours will be epic. Thank you. I love you so much, Carrie.
Debbie and Carrie have set a wedding date for themselves, June 30th. In the month of May, they sent out dozens of wedding invitations to friends and relatives.
So are we going to Texas to see their wedding?
Sure, but when do you think we should get married?
Maybe a month or so after them? But now, I am ready for us to make love, Jonathan.
In that case, to my bedroom we go.
Wow, we both got an invitation to Debbie and Carrie's wedding. Did you respond? Yes, I got permission from my mother and she and I will be taking a flight back to Texas for the wedding. Sadly, I cannot go. Now that I signed my solo recording contract with our record label, they are having me do a dozen of so recording sessions to prepare my solo album. Also, I find it strange they would invite you to their wedding. Didn't Debbie have to dump you to commit herself to Carrie? Yes, but if she had not done that, I wouldn't be with you now. You are a constant source of joy in my life, Suzanne. We complete each other. Ah, you made me blush.
They sent me and my mother invitations. I assume as my wife, you would also be welcome, but you can stay home with the twins if you like.
I will stay here.
I can't wait to see them again. How I envy them for being true to themselves in their love. When I was their age, most LGBT people had to stay in the closet and were fearful of the public hating them if they were outed. I was never a lesbian or even bisexual, but love is love. Such beautiful girls should be treasured as they are.
Well, it was nice of them to send me this, but I think I will pass. I can just read about it and see pics of it on Facebook or other social media sites.
Of course I will preside over the wedding. This is indeed a joyful occasion. But I've never had to marry teens before. Are you sure you were old enough for this kind of commitment?
We've been over this with our mothers. Carrie and I are not just love partners, we have something that we think can last a lifetime. We could tell you all sorts of stories about our adventures, from the time I came to this town and found Debbie a total outcast by most of her peers for being atheist. I was her only close friend for a long time. I held and comforted her when she cried, and celebrated with her our victories. We have come a long way together, and this is a way of sharing everything we mean to each other. Just yesterday I was exploring YouTube and found this song that would be perfect for our wedding. It's by a group called Restless Heart, titled I'll Still Be Loving You.
That's so beautiful. Are you going to sing that at the wedding or just have it played?
I was thinking maybe Carrie and I could sing it to each other after we recite our wedding vows. I'm not much of a singer, though. You can sing it to me by yourself if you want. Mother Lucy. Debbie and I will not change either of our names. I will remain Carrie Sims and she will be Debbie Smith.
And what about your children? What name will they inherit?
Sims, because Smith is such an extremely common last name. And we want to have only one child. Debbie is the one who wants to get pregnant, so we will do like you and Mother Jessica did and look for a sperm donor. Carrie and I will move back and forth between your and the Sims homes every 6 months until we are adults. Then we may move to a large city like Dallas or Houston and get a small apartment. That's a sound plan. Also, Carrie has a special request. She wants to start calling you Mother Sandy in addition to calling her actual mother's Mother Jessica and Mother Lucy. And I would call you 3 mothers the same. Really? That's sweet. I accept that.
Are you sure you want me to be the best man at the wedding, Debbie? I'm not exactly sure what that involves.
You would just stand beside me and look cute. Bella, I'd like you to be the maid of honor in my and Debbie's wedding. Thank you. Being a Catholic, I am curious as to how your wedding will differ from a Catholic wedding. Since I've never been to a Catholic wedding, I can't answer that. But in this case, you would just stand beside me and hold my hand until I turn around and take Debbie's hand. Isn't the father of the bride supposed to do that? Well, we changed it up. My mother Jessica will escort me down the aisle, and then Debbie will be escorted by her mother. You and James, Debbie's brother, will then enter together and walk up beside us brides.
I remember when I was their age, and the very idea of a gay or lesbian marriage was not even discussed. It seemed like a totally absurd idea if it was ever brought up. Clearly because you didn't know any LGBT people. I work with Jessica at her pharmacy now and she is really sweet and respectful. Dismissing her and her wife and their daughter as perverts, because they were not straight like us or Christians like us, was just being ignorant. I never want us to go back to the days of us being dominated by Christian values. Those ideas were just bigotry, not real morals.
You know the most amazing thing about this upcoming wedding?
What's that?
It's listening to our teenage daughters discuss more and more ideas for the wedding, the honeymoon, and even their possible future plans without ever seeing them fight over it. Even when they disagree, there is no hint of anger between them. I remember almost canceling my wedding to Rich because he insisted we fly to Hawaii for our honeymoon, and I wanted to stay in Tulsa because I was already pregnant with Debbie. In the end, we compromised and went to Fort Worth and Arlington to attend a baseball game. But having to sit through that game was torture for me. After that, I told him he would have to attend sporting events alone and I would stay home.
Jessica and I often settle disagreements between us by playing games like Uno or poker. We taught Carrie that too.
Okay, let's roll the dice. You got 9. I will have to exceed that. You got only 5, so I win. We will go to Los Angeles for our honeymoon. Of course. Next issue, where will we live first after we return from the honeymoon? In your home or mine? Yours, please. I really prefer your place, because James is not there. He may be my brother, but I don't like being around him that much. As you wish. Next issue, will alcohol be served at our wedding? Mother Lucy doesn't drink and doesn't want anyone to get drunk at our wedding. Obviously not. We are the brides and neither of us are old enough to drink. And we should make clear to all the guests that alcohol is actually banned from the wedding. No one should bring any. Okay, what about a wedding cake? Should we have one? If so, what kind? A giant wedding cake would only add to the expense of the wedding. How about we just serve pizza? We can order a dozen of them from the Tuscany Tavern. Practical. All right, that's enough planning for today. Carrie, I want you to know how proud I am of you, not only for loving Debbie, but everything about your handling of the situation. Only because you taught me so well. I can only hope I and Debbie can measure up to the example you and Mother Lucy set for me. If I had to live my life over again and could choose my family, I would choose you. I can't imagine being raised by anyone else. Thanks. We just did the best we could with what we knew. I think that is true of most people. Debbie, it seems we have both come a long way from what we were like 3 years ago. Remember when you and I argued at this very spot over religion and how I was running my English class? Of course. You are a totally different person now. Well, you proved me wrong by showing how amazing you are. I never thought you'd be willing to settle down and get married while still a teen. You and Carrie are incredibly strong and mature. The very opposite of what I used to think. And the prevailing culture of this town has changed too. You and Carrie fought back at the hypocrisy and bigotry of people like me and Reverend Dave Owen and showed how shallow we really were. Thank you for that.
Do you think maybe we should get married too, Eric?
I think after what happened last month, we should spend a long time winning the trust and respect of our parents before we even bring that issue up. But I certainly see us getting married someday. We just have to take things one day at a time and... Look out. Is that Ted Wilson going into the girls' restroom? With a baseball bat?
We must stop him.
What are you doing here? This is the girls' restroom.
Right, and I remember when you invaded the boys' room and attacked me for flirting with the girl I wanted to date. Now it is payback.
Ted, you monster. What have you done?
You are going to pay for that.
So, you want to be next, Eric?
Take Ted to the principal's office and someone get Carrie to the nurse's office.
It looks like one of Carrie's legs is broken and she has a black eye and is bleeding from her mouth. She needs to go to hospital.
Carrie was savagely beaten in the girls' restroom at school by Ted Wilson. Now she has been taken to hospital and Ted has been arrested by police. Debbie learns of the incident, and after school she and her mother go to the local hospital to see Carrie. They are joined by Jessica.
Mother, Mrs. Sims, this is horrible. I saw Carrie as they were putting her in the ambulance, and she was so battered her face was swollen and her leg was twisted. I want that bastard to be her imprisoned for a long time. This never would have happened had the school taken action against him for sexually assaulting girls. You can't ignore violence like that, it only escalates over time.
Mrs. Sims, Carrie's injuries were not life-threatening, but they will keep her disabled for a while. Her left cheekbone was shattered and she suffered a black eye. 4 teeth were knocked out, but we already used wiring to put them back in her jaw. Also, she suffered a fracture of her left leg.
Dr. Drake, may we see her?
I will allow one of you to see her now.
Then I will go. Debbie, do you want me to give her a message from you? Yes. Just tell her that I love her and I will do what I can to help her recover. Carrie wants to see you now. But she doesn't look good. I'm ready. I guess our wedding plans are ruined, Carrie. I am so sorry. You want to cancel them, because of this? You can't even walk, and I was told you needed plastic surgery to repair the damage to your face. You could be here for weeks. But you still want to marry me, right? Yes, as much as ever. But I want to help to take care of you first. The wedding can wait. Debbie, we don't even need a wedding somewhere else. We could get married right here and it would be just as good. Get Reverend Denton here and let's get this over with. Then I can focus on my recovering with my wife supporting me every step of the way.
And so on the following week, with the consent of all their mothers and with special permission granted by a state judge.
Okay, I will keep this simple and quick. Debbie Smith, do you take Carrie Sims to be your lawfully wedded wife, to love and care for in cases of health or sickness, wealth or poverty, all the days of your life, until death parts you? I do. Carrie Sims, do you take Debbie Smith to be your lawfully wedded wife, to love and care for in cases of health or sickness, wealth or poverty, all the days of your life, until death parts you? I do.
Then by the power granted me by the Unitarian Universalist Association and the state of Texas, I now pronounce you partners in marriage. You may now kiss.
With my mouth as it is, I can't kiss you, Debbie. No problem. Maybe this will do.
Congratulations. This isn't exactly what any of us wanted for our daughters.
But it is clearly what they needed. Debbie, I have never been more proud of you than now. Even with Carrie terribly disfigured, you didn't run from her. Why would I? If someone needs you and you love her, you're there for her, no matter what. And that is exactly what makes you every bit as strong and as beautiful as Carrie. You are her perfect match. Welcome to the Sims family. Thank you, Mother Jessica and Mother Lucy. I love all of you with all my heart and will do so forever.